Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another random review. Today's random review is from 1978, and just in case you think this channel's turned into Hideo Gosha and Tatsu Nakadai's channel, it is, because it's Bandit versus Samurai Squad from 1978, or Kumokiri Nizamon, which is Tatsu Nakadai's character name in the film. This is an absolute belter of a Gosha film, and it might have become my favourite film of the year that I've seen, even although it does have problems. But the good stuff in the film just outweighs the slight issues I have with it. So this is just by Shichoku, based on a novel. This is basically a cops and robbers film. Nakadai plays an ex-samurai who we find out about his past 10 years ago from when the film's set. It's set in the 1500s. And his clan was possibly framed for something they didn't do, for embezzlement. So him and his older brother, instead of surrendering and committing seppuku, fought back and then went into hiding, and now Nakadai is in charge of a bandit clan, and the samurai squad, or the cops in this case, are after him. So again, it's a plot that obviously we've seen before. The film is, I think it's about 163 minutes, and the kind of issue that I have is it's too long, but it's also not long enough. It's a strange one. So I don't know whether you can see, but in this unofficial DVD cover, you can see all these characters down each side. And all these characters in the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes, all get an introduction. So the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes is perhaps not a slog, but it is kind of an assault on, because every time a character comes into frame, we have an introduction of basically what side they're on, their name, and then there's lots of sitting about talking about the characters that you've just been introduced to like 5 seconds ago. And as you can see, there's lots of characters, and in the first 20-30 minutes there's no Nakadai, and you're thinking, okay, come on, this is just a list of people, and it's not the most kind of cinematic way of doing it. But once the film gets that out of the way, so you have situations in the first 20-30 minutes where some people are attacking other people, and because you've just been introduced to them, you're not actually quite sure what's going on and who's attacking who and what side they're on, unless you're writing it down as they get introduced. But again, as I say, once that is out of the way, it's like straight up masterpiece territory, because it's actually a really emotional film, I found at least. There's like two absolutely brilliant speeches, one by Nakadai and one by his elder brother later in the film. Because Nakadai is Nakadai, you're on his side, but you're not anti the samurai either, because the leader of the samurai is a kind of charismatic guy as well, and you can see it from his point of view. So there's no... Obviously you're probably rooting for Nakadai more, especially when you hear more of his story and things get revealed later in the film, but it's not just a... You know, you want Nakadai to win because the cops are buffoons or the cops are thugs or anything like that. So the characters are just well rounded, and you just root for everybody almost. There's nobody, you know, that you don't kind of root for, which just makes it a very rich and interesting film. Because as I said, the actual plot of the film, or the skeleton of the plot, is something we've seen 100 times before and 100 times since. It co-stars lots of familiar faces, but Tetsuro Tamba is in it, who, if you're a fan of Takashi Miike, you'll recognise him as the granddad in The Happiness of Katakuris. Obviously this is 1978, so he's younger, but he's obviously been in lots of things. And again, you know, he gave the emotional core to Miike's film. And obviously we have Shishido Joe from Brandy to Kill and lots of things as a blind masseur. Never seen that before. And his storyline and his arc is like fascinating, and he's in some great scenes as well. And we also have Isao Natsuage, who played Samurai Wolf 1 and 2, also directed by Gosha. So it's like a star-studded cast. The set pieces are stunning. The whole kind of thing with Nakadai's brother, that, you know, because originally Nakadai pretends not to know him because he's now using another name, but again, as we get layers revealed about the past, it just takes on more of an emotional wallop. So we kind of get, you know, raids by the samurai, the police essentially, and obviously Nakadai's crew's too clever for them. And then we kind of get the shock announcement that once Nakadai has his crew all together, that they're going to do a job, but this is the last job, and then they're going to disappear because they've had a good, I think it's like 15-year run or whatever, but you know, their deeds, they're rich enough so they don't need to do any more, and it's better to quit while you're ahead. Which of course, being Japanese and being samurai, they're pretty much all on board with, because they follow Nakadai, because, you know, he's Nakadai. So this involves, and then it becomes like a, you know, almost an Ocean's 11 film, where, you know, somebody goes and infiltrates the target, and spend some time with the target, because there are female members of his crew as well. And you just have, once the raid starts, it just goes at full pelt. Not that it is rushed or anything, but once the spark is lit, it is just an absolute adrenaline-filled fuel ride. But it's more than just an action film. We've got arterial spray, you know, there's fire, there's sword fights, but again, it never loses the emotional core, so you get like detached from it. You're so invested in just about everybody, and again, it has that thing of, Seven Samurai, in the sense of when certain people die, you're actually upset about it, rather than the bog standard action film where people die and it's just like, yeah, whatever. There's a real kind of sense of loss when certain characters die, and again, that goes into the fact that it's too long, but it's not long enough. You just enjoy spending time with these characters, even though some of them are, obviously half of them are robbers and thieves and murderers. The score is really interesting. It's 1978, but there's like spaghetti western score, there's piano, there's brass at times. You could argue that sometimes the score is absolutely perfect, and other time the score is kind of quite jarring, and it's almost like the polar opposite of things going on screen. There's great rain. There's a wonderful standoff in a river, which reminds one of Sword of Vengeance, the first Baby Cart film. It's in colour. This edition is in widescreen. It's just an absolutely stunning film if you can get through the kind of ploddy first 20 minutes or so when they're introducing like every single one of these characters. Apart from that, as I said, once it gets going, it's just really, really good. It's absolutely excellent. And again, Nakadai, who doesn't appear until about half an hour into the film, and he's getting a shave when he's introduced, and he's laying down the orders. Again, he can be brutal and tough, but he can also work with those eyes, and there is a emotional core to the film, as I said, that you don't necessarily always get in these kind of films. A lot of these Chambra films or Jaideki, they're cool, they're beautifully framed, they're cool with wonderful choreographed action, but at times you're not emotionally attached, perhaps, but this one you are. And as I said, there's no real kind of bad guy in the film. It's just people who have made life choices and they're on one side or another, but there's still an accountability on either side, and even if one side has like a small victory, there's always cost to that victory, and at the end, whichever end it is, because very much like Lord of the Rings Return of the King, there's an ending and then an ending and then an ending, but obviously this is done in a much better way. On either side there's a toll, and even, as I said, a small victory comes with a cost, not just in a physical sense but also in a mental sense, and again you really feel that, and that's what makes Bandit versus Samurai Squad, which again isn't the greatest title in the world, but again Kumokiri Neizamon is probably a better title. It's just phenomenal. It's another Hideo Gosha just an excellent film. I think this is probably, I think I said the last one was the best one I've seen so far, but this one's the best one I've seen so far. And I haven't seen the one that might be his best, but I'm trying to find a copy of that. Yeah, another absolute stunner. And this one now might be my favourite watch of the year. Yeah, not 60s Japan, this is 1978 Japan, but it's an absolute belter of a film, as a young person might have said once in 1994. So thanks so much for watching. Please let me know if you've seen Bandit vs Samurai Squad and what you think of it. And hopefully you'll join me again for more random reviews that not necessarily will be Hideo Gosha and Tatsuya Nakadai, even though they did make quite a lot of films together. Yeah, thanks so much for watching. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.